Where did all of your ambitions go? Where did it all lead to? Why, it led back to me. Hello everyone, I'm Umber Rays. It's been a busy week. It has been crazy trying to get through all of this tactics news. And you might be wondering, where's the video on this guy? Well, it's right here. Welcome to that video. Okay, now that we've gotten that out of the way, let's talk about Garrousa, or I guess it's Garrousa, right? Garrousa, I've been calling him because that's the name of a commentator and a chatter, and so Garrousa, I guess this is the last shout out you'll be getting in one of my videos. Maybe, we'll see. Garrousa, so a wind elemental permanent addition to the game that is a story-based character. Means that this character is permanently in the gacha and not something that you need to rush right out and spend a ton of resources and break the bank and a whole bunch of other euphemisms, metaphors, and similes to basically say that this character is the another in a long line of really strong characters that have shown up in the game lately, and the story is less interesting than the tactics characters. I would love to say that this is something different, right? Just because it's more interesting for me to make a video about a character that is a surprise, that has something new, that has something different. But for the most part, Garrousa is just a absolutely solid character who is coming to the game at a point in time when he will be stronger because of the meta. Like, Garrousa is a very, this is basically it. Wind Slasher with excellent fighting ability. Can put up a barrier while attacking. Can also seal barrier destruction with a self buff. Can inflict status effects, such as Don't Act. Can remove debuffs while attacking and absorb some of the damage. And he's just kind of anti-mage. There's so much in there that basically points him to being really good. And Garrousa has already been rated by most of the sites as another tier 1 character. Now, let's pause for a second, not the recording, but let's talk about this. At this point in time, given the current power level of JP characters, there does not exist a tier 0 anymore. Now, I've normally referred to characters as tier 0, and quite frankly, no. At this point, it's become far too standardized for this specific power level, so we have kind of moved back to tier 1 all over again. And there is not a tier 0 because it's just kind of become too widespread, and it's just becoming cyclical at this point of a new character moving in and pushing other characters out. For people who are curious what is classified as the general tier 1 characters, Shrekin, Exia, Garrousa, AC Sephiroth, and Swimsuit Swimsuit Resnick, who, if you translate it, the Japanese into Google, you're in for a special surprise. I will not comment on further. So Garrousa has come out at a particularly really good time. I think that style-wise, he's kind of cool. Some people have said, hey, is that O? Is that like demonic O? Kind of. I mean, if you were waiting for a new, actual samurai character, not just a Sephiroth katana imitator, then this is the guy for you. His design is really, really cool, and I think it's pretty neat. It's not my favorite of the most designs in FFB and Wotv. We have the Veritas units for that, and take a look at my home screen. Tell me who I'm actually favoriting right now. So yeah, with that being said, let's take a look at the friend unit. Here we go, and we'll throw him in with our primarily physical wind-based party, which is kind of good for him. As you can tell, 12k HP, 1800 attack, 116 speed, 48 single target, 25 AoE. In a wind-based party, there's plenty of opportunity for him to be quite strong and quite fast. You will note, though, for the sake of this video, that he does have the Hermes sandals on, so agility is a little bit scuffed. If we take a look at the resistances he could potentially run, 20, 10, negative 10, 15, and 40 really does highlight what I think about where he is and why he's so good. There are so many mages on JP that an anti-mage character, of course, will have a higher chance. But as a wind-based character, 75% frostbite resistance is just really nice, as going up against ice will be difficult for him potentially. But in combination with fire element, yeah, I think this guy will be just fine going up against ice elemental characters, especially Gilgamesh, who is fairly present in JP meta. So yeah, this is definitely a pushback against a very strong wind elemental character. Now, continuing on, Trust Mastery is not, it's a gourd. It kind of looks like a bra if you squint your eyes and don't look at it very carefully. Whatever. 10 Spirit, 3 Agility, increases reaction block rate of 50 for 4 turns for self, grants the following effect of increasing reaction block rate for 3 turns for 4 turns. So there you go. Sure, why not? It's just reaction block the movie. Why not? It seems fine. I'm not super crazy about it. I'm not super negative about it. It is what it is. Master ability is magical damage taken minus 10% and defense penetration up of 20. Single target resistance of 15, AP consumption down of 20, reaction block rate of 30 for his Dream Enhancement. And that is perfectly fine. Taking a look at what is special, his limit burst, reduce physical damage taken, increase buff for targets, so it actually decreases it. Decrease wind resistance of 38% for targets. Damage of 240 mod, so a fairly high mod on his limit burst, and a 40% chance to inflict disable. I can speak words. Here we go. Now, from what I have seen of video evidence of this guy, he is very limit burst throw out happy. He loves to throw out his limit burst, and it's a very strong ability. If he does get disable, very high chance of winning, especially when the opponent's team does not have any protection against it. But just in general, he is very, like, he loves to do this, and his limit burst is quite a powerful ability from what I've seen once he runs his buffs. Now, sub-jobs include High Dragoon as well as Pugilist. I think that it depends entirely on what damage type you want here. I don't think that there's too much. The only thing, maybe High Dragoon for Protect and an attack and defense increase, as well as the move and agility bonus. So essentially you're running those subs potentially for those buffs. Talking about his support skills as we scroll up. First counter, chance to counter all damage 30% by dealing damage and increasing AP for self. Definitely a very strong counter ability for a new job. I think that this is really nice. Getting 20 AP from just while dealing damage feels like a pretty big win for this guy. Looking at his support skills are quite a mouthful. Starting with this one, increase slash attack resistance penetration by 40. Increase the effect 2% each time you receive damage up to 10, meaning that is 50 slash attack resistance penetration in his kit, especially when he takes damage enough times. Increase AoE resistance penetration rate of 40. Both of these things in conjunction essentially mean that his limit burst is quite dangerous from the get-go, and he has a reduced physical and magical damage the larger the attack AoE size by 15% built into this ability, with a 200% chance of physical damage increase for himself of 5%. Long story short, this is very offensive, but does have some defensive capabilities to it too. As for the other one, pretty boring. HP and Spirit Up does go to the overall theme of him being very good against mages, but not super exciting. Looking at the rest of his kit really quickly, you could get attack and defense penetration from High Dragoon, also as well an agility and strike resistance increase, which would probably be pretty nice for replacing and buffing over top of the Hermes sandals. So there you go. Now, taking a look at his main job, starting with the sub part, we have a deal 240% damage ability on a very short leash. As your HP decreases, the attack power goes up. But it's so short range that I don't feel like it's going to be really that good, and while this guy is very good against mage-based characters, it has yet to be seen how well he will do against the strong physical characters that have started popping up. Specifically, I'm talking about Orlandeau. Might be considerably problematic for this guy, given that Orlandeau's strength is really quite strong and could push physical back in the meta. Could also be in combination with Orlandeau, so put a pin in that idea for now. This ability, move and jump +1, haste of 42%. Yeah, this is probably you're going to be running this ability just because why not? Haste is just a really good buff most of the time. Alright, taking a look at the rest of his abilities, we have a range of different things, but remember, he does have AoE resistance penetration, so that's kind of what we are looking for strong abilities. So this one, 120 mod, when an enemy gets killed, basically get AP restore. Generally fine, feels pretty good. This ability, grant the following effect: Dispel Protect for 4 turns, and gain a new counter skill for 4 turns as well. That new counter skill, chance to counter slash and magic damage at 70% by an increasing HP for yourself by 30%. So a very strong counter to specific damage types, and almost certainly always going to be accessible unless you, well, disable it. But he's the one who's supposed to be doing the disable on the limit burst. Hey, okay, all right, moving on. Let's go to his support skills next. No, we'll do this one next really quick because it's super short. Decrease defense by a factor of 80 for 3 turns for a target with a 165 mod. You're basically running this for the defense down and hoping the enemy doesn't have a debuff resistance, but by a factor of 80 is pretty huge. Next, this ability, support-based ability that gives reduced physical damage taken by 25% for 4 turns if allies have one of the following in effect, such as ignoring fatal damage, restores 20 AP for self if they have ignore fatal, single target resistance of 25 if they have ignore fatal, decrease AP consumption by 30 if they have ignore fatal, and grants the following effect of sealing barrier destruction for 3 turns for 4 turns if they have, guess what, ignore fatal. So yeah, this whole ability is basically built around the idea of having guts or immortal spirit or ignore fatal damage. Whatever you want to call that effect, if it is in effect, then you have a lot of extra bonuses, which are quite nice. And yeah, enough said about that. It's the big wall of text ability. Next up, this ability is improved into his EX, so it breaks physical barriers for targets, decreases debuff effect weakening by 50 for just this cast, is 100% accurate, so sure hit, reduces damage taken by 30% for 3 turns, reaction block rate of 50 for 3 turns, decrease healing of 50 for 3 turns, and has a 200% mod on it. Basically your all everything ability, your everything bagel ability, very, 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 very strong, with a lot of stuff that can potentially hamper the quality of a bunch of other teams. But yeah, this ability, there's just not much else. It's just really strong and very versatile. Over here, our last one, dispel all debuffs for self, dispel physical damage reduction for self, dispel magical damage reduction for self, increase slash attack resistance penetration by 40 or 3 turns per self, 200% mod, plus absorb 50% of the damage done. So yeah, overall, this character is really strong going into the meta that he is currently going, but he is not without his weak points. Taking a look, it does seem like he wants to be paired with AC Sephiroth, obviously just because of the katana thing. He wants to be paired with Shrekin, but the team is not looking absolutely perfect. The team is looking really strong against a bunch of other mage-based teams, and even pretty strong into like Cloud and Cypher. However, there are some very glaring obvious weak points with this character, such as Curse, as well as if he were to end up against a really, really strong tank, he might falter a little bit. He does have a lot of AP recovery and everything in his kit to essentially keep pushing him and pushing the damage out. But I do think at a certain point it kind of breaks down a little bit, and I can see already there's going to be a point, like I feel that this is a incredibly spiky character in the same way that Flame Sorcerer was when he came out, where it was like everybody was really excited about that high DPS and it dropped off very quick. Like the essentially like Flame Sorcerer is already considered like even a little bit lower tier since Exia has come along, and maybe might get pushed down really fast. So I feel like Garrousa, I don't want to downplay him because he is just a really cool win slash samurai, and that is just awesome. But I do feel like there is some critical points, such as his curse resistance, which could cancel out his healing, or potentially his overall resistances aren't that impressive. So I feel like there's some weak point that's really going to be exploited very quickly in the future, like a new ice character that just completely flattens him. Even Ice Veritas maybe might just be really nasty for this guy to go up against. Like, it just kind of needs a little bit more to, I feel, already kind of give this guy some trouble. But that is all conjecture based on many things. When we come back, we will take a look at this character in actual testing, since this video has already run for 17 minutes. I'm going to stop it here and split it up. See ya.